Hi, I asked you guys to send me some hot takes and unpopular opinions, and today I will be reacting to the best ones. Josh says, David and Dan were totally lying about not being able to fit direwolves into the budget for the later seasons. I'm not sure if it was lying or simply prioritizing other stuff, like the white polar bear in season 7 for example. They probably planned budget for CGI and stuff like that all around the big spectacles that they were having, the fight beyond the wall and the spoils of war episode in season 7, and then in season 8 obviously the long night and the Bells episodes. Those two must have cost a ton of money, and whatever was left was then directed at the other scenes and storylines. And since they've already made the writing decision that both Arya Stark and Jon Snow are not wargs in the show, I guess it made sense to them to not waste the money on what could have been very useful. But it's 2023 now, so it's kind of useless to think about that. So yeah, all in all, I don't think that they were lying. I just think they made stupid decisions, but that's nothing new, right? The Grease Goblin says, even though Maegor was not a great king, he was better than most people give him credit for. He saved the Targaryen dynasty from Aenys's mismanagement and laid the foundation for Jaehaerys to have a successful reign. I kinda agree with you. I think he was a very necessary evil at a very specific time when House Targaryen really faced a lot of issues. Especially at the beginning when he was usurping his throne and fighting the Faith. That was a very crucial time for House Targaryen, and he showed them the true power of the dragons. With Aegon gone and Aenys being so weak, they really didn't respect the Targaryens as much as they should have. Nobody else could step up like Maegor did. In such a drastic way, he really made sure that his enemies feared him. Not only is he a kinslayer, he's just so sadistic. Like the way he got rid of the construction workers at the Red Keep. Maegor is as evil as it gets in A Song of Ice and Fire, but George of course still manages to make it very interesting, and I would love to see Maegor in a future live action adaptation one day. I think that could be a very rewarding show. A Maegor show would at least have massive payoff at the end and lots of interesting characters. We still have Visenya that comes into play, and then of course the Black Brides, and there's a lot of mystery going on as well. Stuff that's still up to this day. We don't know. We don't know how he ended up on that throne. There's theories, of course, but yeah, I'm all here for it. One day, maybe. Kong Ming says, Quentyn is alive. His death is so damn suspicious, and George has a long track record of writing fake-out deaths, both in A Song of Ice and Fire and his previous works. Well, hello Preston. I like the theory, and I think he kind of convinced me that it was left open-ended, that this is something that George can come back to and say, well, actually this. And yeah, it's true, the fake-out deaths are a thing in The Song of Ice and Fire. It happened a couple of times. Still though, I don't think it's going to happen because I don't really see what purpose Quentyn Martell would serve at Meereen, a place that is very crowded. You have Tyrion and Jorah coming back, you have Victarion, so it's really, really crowded there. Barristan Selmy is still alive, but we shall see. I wouldn't be mad if Quentyn would show up. And I think it's a pretty damn good theory as usual with Preston stuff. Anshuman says, even the dogshit Game of Thrones seasons are better than a lot of television out there. Yeah, I mean, in terms of production quality, of production value, what you are watching is very well made. It's undeniable. The impact that Game of Thrones had on television as a whole is just massive. It's just crazy, really. But still, saying stuff like that, it's better than most television. Every good show that is out there is better than most television. Shows like Better Call Saul, which I just loved. It became one of my favorite shows ever. It's just so incredibly clear of Game of Thrones. It's just the wasted potential with Game of Thrones, but it really is what it is now. You can't change it now. It's 2023. It is what it is. Spider Egg says, Blood and cheese is bullshit. It was a kidnapping and a baby swap. Jaehaerys was swept with one of Aegon's bastards, and he will later appear as Gaiman Palehair. I don't see that one happening, I'm sorry. Even if it was Gaiman Palehair, you still killed Aegon's son, and it's still kinslaying, and why go through all of that just to kill another member of your family, even though it's a bastard and whatever. I don't think so, and I wouldn't like that, to be honest. I think that would kind of whitewash the horrendous act that it is, and I hope something like that doesn't happen. And that is actually perfect. It brings us to the next one. Javi says, taking into account that Season 2 will be more action-based compared to Season 1, where dialogue was good most of the time, it nonetheless had slips like Kristen's at the wedding or Rhaenys at the coronation. What could we expect in terms of the writing for House of the Dragon Season 2? That is a very, very good question, and I gotta be honest, I don't have an answer yet. House of the Dragon Season 1 and House of the Dragon Season 2 will be so vastly different and kind of weird to look back upon in a few years. And it's for many reasons. Obviously, there are huge time jumps. They are finished now, they're gone. We won't have any time jumps anymore. We could get some flashbacks. I heard a couple of rumors about that without spoiling anything. But while House of the Dragon Season 1, or the writers thinking that House of the Dragon Season 1 was too boring for the broader audience, so they kind of made stuff up, like Kristen Cole beating Joffrey to death at the wedding feast, as well as Rhaenys bursting through the floor. Most of the writing decisions that I or a lot of fans had problems with were invented things that were there for spectacle. And now, going into House of the Dragon Season 2, the spectacle is already laid out. You have stuff and whole battles and conflicts and fights that you can just adapt. You don't have to come up with it. So now it's really about how they fit the complexity and the character development into all of that while doing battle after battle after battle. I really respect HBO and Ryan Condal for not just going for a spectacle show, because that would have been the easiest thing after Game of Thrones. You just show an episode of Viserys dying, you set up the characters, and then it's immediately going to war and just showing the dance. No, instead what we got was a full season that really set up our characters beautifully, I think. We're really now at a point where everything is laid out. You know what the stakes are, which characters are fighting for which side, and what's the goals, what's the angle, and the own ambitions of pretty much every character. So I hope the whole package around those battles, Battle at Rook's Rest, is clever scenes and people plotting and everything that made Game of Thrones Season 1 to Season 4 so good in the first place. Season 2 is just so important for the entire future of this franchise. The easiest thing would be just show the spectacle. Don't care about the other stuff. That is pretty much how Game of Thrones went at the end. Everything went out of the window, nothing made sense. Look at this, it's very beautiful. People fighting, yada yada yada. They have the perfect opportunity to set an example on how to treat these things in this world. So I'm very curious. I don't have an answer for your question. I'm very, very curious myself. I was not a fan of the Rhaenys scene. It did have me worried about certain aspects of the show going forwards, for the simple fact that House of the Dragon spent so much time on the characters and really setting up the conflict. I will give them the benefit of the doubt, and I will speak my mind when we will actually see it. What do you think is Aegon II's most depraved sex kink? I say fuck's sake, I can't even. I say bestiality with Sunfire. Like the video, subscribe, take care, see you later, and fuck off.